This would be the atomic fireball.
I'm not doing this.
No, we're gonna do it.
I'm not doing this.
Do it.
No, I've tried these. I'm not.
I don't care.
I'm not doing this.
No, we have to.
No.
Don't be like that.
No. Have you seen what those cars go for? Like, there was one that was destroyed from a hurricane. Sold for $1.5 million.
Dude, I'm not surprised. I mean,
It's definitely a product of its time because of Back to the Future, which never seen the movies. Don't hate me. So throwback episodes, those are pretty typical for TV shows. I wouldn't say movies, but like just series in general.
yeah.
Right.
Podcasts, TV shows.
Podcast, yeah, YouTube videos, and I guess that's what we're doing today.
We got
the vibe.
Yeah, we got to follow the trend, obviously. I mean,
Yeah, look at the vibe we got behind us. What are we doing, Trent?
well, as you guys can see on the table in between us, we got a bunch of, I don't know if you call it throwback because you guys probably can't tell it well, but candies that were really big in the 80s and stuff. And that's what we're here to talk about today is going to be cars from the 80s, the best cars specifically, or at least in our opinion.
Our favorite cars.
But I say let's just get right into it.
There is something we have to do, though, before we officially start talking about the cars.
That is true. So we got ourselves some good old Pop Rocks. We're going to throw these back and then we'll jump right into it. You ready for this?
No, not ready for this.
It's fun.
Dude, I opened the whole pack. It's about to go crazy.
Yeah, I know. All right, you ready?
Should I do all of it?
Yeah, we're going to do the whole bag.
Oh, jeez.
All right, ready?
All right. Oh, my God.
All right. My name's Trent.
My name's Ivo.
Welcome back to Accelerate.
So the first car, my brain is popping. The first car is the most legendary car of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The Lamborghini Countach. Oh, my God. I'm popping. And just like something else that's popping in my mouth, this car was popping in the 80s.
This car was.
I mean, you think about 80s, you think about a white-on-white, certain substance, and a Lamborghini Countach. I mean, it's just the quintessential. Wolf of Wall Street, Scarface. You have Miami Vice, Magnum PI. Literally, the Countach was in everything.
I'm not going to lie, I could barely focus right now. It's just popping off my brain. But yes, the Countach was very big in the 80s. And for sure, I feel like it was a big poster car for the 80s. Granted, we didn't grow up in the 80s, so we obviously didn't have that on our walls. But it's still a very iconic car. I still see it in all the video games. It's still a good-looking car for today's times, too.
Oh, my God.
And I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that's the car that kind of introduced the wedge shape
It did.
for it.
You're right. Yeah, well, technically, you know what? The car was technically designed in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an 80s car.
Yeah.
It's a product of its time. I mean, when I think of Countach, the Countach I think of is a white-on-white, 25th anniversary, 87, 5,000 QV. That's the car.
It was a good-looking car for
That
sure.
is the car, yeah. But what's your first car?
My first car. It's another iconic one from that time, and I'd say the very first ever hypercar, and that's going to be the Porsche 959. To be honest, when I remember growing up, I'd see this car in games. I didn't know what it was. It just looked like a 911, but that's because a lot of Porsches just look the same to me sometimes. But as I got older, to know what the 959 is, it's just a crazy car, especially for that time. They had so much technology compared to other cars, and it introduced new things that we still have in today's cars. So it's just a crazy car, and for a small period of time, it was the fastest car in the world. So I think that's really cool.
It invented the tire pressure monitoring system.
Mm-hmm.
Like Porsche invented that for the 959.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you could argue it's just an overinflated 911. But have you seen what those cars go for? Like there was one that was destroyed from a hurricane. Sold for $1.5 million.
Dude, I'm not surprised. I mean, I think I've only seen maybe 2 real ones in person, and it's just an experience to see them in person. They're really cool.
It is a really cool looking car.
But yeah, so I will say it kind of looks like a 993 from the front. It's got the 993 front. I feel like that's where it kind of
That's where 993 came from, really.
But it's got the real boxy back end, which I like. So it's just an iconic looking
It
car.
literally just looks like they took like a half square, like with the bottom part missing, and just stuck it to the back of a 911.
Oh yeah.
But it's a really cool looking car.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
What's your next one?
my next one is one of my favorite cars ever. I mean, like I geek over this stuff. I love the 80s AMG Hammers. So whether we're talking about the 2-door, I guess you can say E-Class base Hammers with the 6.0, or the 560, the 6.0, SEC big cars, I mean,
to me, it makes sense. You're a big Mercedes guy already, so I had a feeling that was already going to be on the list. But yeah, it's a cool looking car.
yeah, and I mean, think about it this way: with the AMG Hammer, it was more expensive than some Ferraris and Lambos.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't personally, I don't know too much about that car.
So let me give you a quick background, a little bit on it. So before 1996, Mercedes and AMG weren't one thing. Mercedes bought out AMG or bought most of it in like mid to late 90s. So before that, AMG was its own thing. So you would go to Mercedes. Let's say you're buying a E-Class coupe, right? Like an 87, 88 coupe. And you buy it. You get the inline six. And then you take it to the crazy guys at AMG because it was a separate company. And they would turn into just something like bonkers. I mean, 6.0, the thing made like 500 horsepower. It was faster than some Ferraris and whatnot of its day, but it also cost that much. So let's say the car was 80 grand new that time, you'd spend probably another 200.
Jeez.
Like getting it.
But I'm like, hearing 500 horsepower from the 80s, like right after the oil crash, or honestly during the middle of it.
And I could be wrong. It could be lower. It probably is lower, but it was a fast car for what it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, nowadays there was one that just sold, or not just, but about a year ago it sold. It's funny enough. It's called the Cocaine Hammer because it had a story where a guy in the 80s bought it brand new in Long Beach, down in Cali.
Oh, that's where I'm from.
Oh, there you go. Buys it brand new from the dealer. Like the car was built and being sold. Buys it brand new, puts like 25 kilos of that product in the trunk, drives to Vegas, gets pulled over. By the way, the car is brand new. It's a day old. We gets pulled over. Guy gets locked up. Car goes to the impound. If some random guy buys it 10 years later from the police impound, not knowing what it is. And about a year ago, it sold for $750,000.
That's a pretty insane story. That dude who bought it from the impound, I bet you got a crazy deal.
He got a crazy deal on it, yeah. The guy that bought it originally, he didn't get a crazy deal. He spent the rest of his time in prison.
Enjoyed it for less than a day, probably.
Yeah. What's your next car? I think it's pretty iconic, too.
Yeah. Everyone's going to know this car. I mean, it's you have to have this on a list if you're talking about your best cars. The Ferrari F40. Another quintessential, just 80s car.
For sure.
It brought a lot of stuff. And one thing I really liked about the car, it was originally made for Group B rally.
Yep.
Kind of was in production for that. So for them to, once Group B got canceled and everything, they decided to turn it into more of a street legal car. And honestly, it's one of the best looking Ferraris in my opinion. The F50 that came after it doesn't look to me nearly as good, but the F40 is just such a crazy looking car.
You know what's crazy is your car earlier, the 959 was also supposed to be a rally car. You know there's a Dakar version of the 959, which is sick. But the F40 is just, oh my God. I mean, twin turbo V8 literally looks like something out of like a sci-fi movie for the 80s.
Yeah.
And you know that car has the rap of being the free parking car because it was so low. Like you couldn't park it anywhere.
Oh yeah, you can just go
you can't get up like a driveway to park it, so you could just leave it anywhere, and technically nobody would ticket you because you can't move the car. Like the car is so low to the ground. And then of course we have the variants, the F40 LM. Oh my God.
Oh, that thing is sick looking too.
Yeah, there are some, and it sounds crazy when those turbos are spooling. It's crazy. That is a sick car.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know if I've seen one in person. I just want to.
I've seen.
I don't know if I've seen one, but it's just another car. Anytime I'm playing games, I gotta have it instantly.
Yeah, no, it's a sick car. Yeah, have you seen that one that was built by HRE, the gray one, or Liberty Walk? I've
seen the white one.
Is it white? I think it's like gray. No, like Nardo gray.
I thought it was white.
Maybe you're right. I don't know.
The white where they wide bodied it.
Yeah. Well, they turn it like into an LM spec car with like the fixed headlights, not the pop-ups or anything.
Yeah, it might as well not be a Ferrari anymore. According to Ferrari.
According to Ferrari, well, they got that car's not a real Ferrari according to them.
Yeah.
Like they took it off the list, which is crazy. Like, whatever. But yeah, my next car, I guess I'll bring it a little bit down to the ground. Maybe, is a Ford Sierra RS Cosworth.
That's a pretty cool car.
I mean, if you mention Ford and Cosworth in one sense from the 80s and 90s, people know. Like, you know what that is.
Yeah.
That was one of the craziest, I guess you can say, hot hatches of the 80s. You had stuff like the Golf, Mark II GTI, which is a sick car. You had some other stuff from Ford. But the Sierra was just, it was nuts.
I'm pretty sure we saw that car, one of those at SEMA
We did.
last year, right?
We did. Remember, I was like, this is crazy, and I flipped out. That is like I believe it's either a 2-liter or a 2.2 Turbo 4. So the block is from Ford. The head is technically from Cosworth. It's machined.
Yeah.
And it was a nuts car. I mean, that thing has a reputation, I believe, in England of just being able to outrun the cops because they couldn't catch them.
Damn, really?
Like that's how fast that car was. For just a Ford that you could walk in and buy.
That's one thing I like about it. It doesn't look crazy. It looks like an everyday car.
The one thing you could say is crazy about it is the wing, but
Yeah.
it isn't even that crazy. Now, if we're talking about the Escort Cosworth, the one from the
Mm-hmm.
90s, that wing is nuts. I mean, that thing looks nuts. But yeah, the Sierra is more conservatively styled, you could say.
Yeah, it's still a good looking car for today's times. But
We
I
had
do
a
like that
version come here to the States. I don't know if you ever
Really?
heard of it. It's called the Mercur.
I did see.
Not Mercury, Mercur. It's
Yeah.
called Mercur. It was like supposed to be its own brand. It just wasn't good. It was a bad car. The
Okay.
motor was.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of one earlier. But I'm like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah, that's what
But-
that is. It was supposed to be the Sierra of the U.S., but it wasn't.
It just died. But yeah, it's a good looking car though,
For sure. What's your next car?
Next
you're
car, I'm
sticking
sticking
Ford,
with Fords. The Fox Body Mustang.
That is
It's-
a legendary car.
This is another car where growing up I hated the look of this car because I liked the current look of the Mustangs. I was a kid. I didn't know. I was like, all 80s cars I thought were low key ugly because everything was a box.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, hearing why kind of the Mustang dipped a little bit was with the oil crisis. They had to change it. It couldn't be as big, as blocky. So, but as I've gotten older, it's become to me a cult classic car. Like
Oh,
everybody loves those things. Remember kids in high school used to love them. But it's a cool looking car, and there's a couple different generations like the SVO, and then you got the little bit newer ones. But overall, I think they all look pretty good. They definitely don't, to me, scream Mustang, but it's its
They're
own
different.
different thing.
They're different. Yeah, I mean, traditional Mustangs, you think, first gen, you got the
Yeah.
fastback and all that. And the Fox Body was just different.
It feels like it's so small compared to
It does.
the earlier gens and the current ones. It
Yeah.
feels smaller.
It also is a really, really cool generation of the Mustang, I think. I'm not the biggest fan of the first few years of the Fox Body. I
Yeah.
think they're pretty ugly.
I like the later.
Yeah,
generations
but
of
I
it.
think like 88, 89, when they did like the nice taillights and just like the smooth styling of the car,
Mhm.
it just looks so good. I mean, yeah, it wasn't powerful. It was a 5.0, which only made like 190.
Then again, the cars in the 80s, they weren't known for being super powerful.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, they're more
But-
efficiency about.
It's a cool car. And I mean, they were dirt cheap for the longest time.
Mhm.
Now, a freaking Fox Body Mustang will run you back like $7,000 for like a turd.
Yeah,
Just crazy.
if you want a nice one, you're throwing in some
Yeah.
good money in there.
I don't know. I love the Fox Body. I've always really wanted to drive one. I've never had the chance to,
Mhm.
but maybe I will one day.
I haven't gotten to drive like the ones you mean, like the later ones. I got to drive like the SVO. It was
Oh, really?
It
How's that?
it was all right.
Turbo 4?
Yeah, it felt a little. I don't know. It drove a little weird. It drove like, but I will say, it just drove like a car from the '80s.
Yeah.
After driving, I mean, these are very different ends of the spectrum. But driving like a Porsche from the '80s and a Mustang, they're very different feels.
Right.
It just feels Porsche just did it right. It just feels smooth. The Mustang feels a little more rugged.
Yeah. Yeah. So technically, my next one is people are gonna be like, this guy's just sticking with European stuff. Because technically, the Sierra is
Big European guy over
big
here.
European guy. Because technically, the Sierra is a European car
Yeah.
built in Belgium. The E30
Mm.
M3,
Iconic.
iconic.
Yeah.
Iconic car. I mean, it literally spawned a crazy generation of just a run of cars. I mean, our very own Aiden just was convinced that the M3, M4 generation line is the greatest thing ever made since
Right.
sliced bread.
Very true.
So the E30 is a sick car. I mean, most people don't know that car doesn't have an inline 6. It's an inline 4.
Really.
Yeah, but it's so lightweight. It's a tiny little car, and it looks so cool.
It's a good looking car.
I love the E30.
I really like the look of the E30 as well as the Mercedes, the Evo 2.
Mm-hmm.
Those things both look good, but the E30 it's a really cool looking car.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of a BMW from the 80s, the E30 is probably the one that comes to mind.
Mhm.
And sure, you had some other cars like the 6 Series and the M5, the first E28 M5, but the E30 is like the car.
Mhm.
Like, that's like the car from the 80s. I love it. I wish I could have one. I've had the opportunity to buy one back in the day. My dad's friend back in Bulgaria, he had imported one from Italy through some means, but it was imported, and he was selling the car. The car was a clean title, it was everything. He was selling it for like $10,000,
Damn.
and it was an M3. I don't think it was an Evo like variant or anything. It was just a regular E30 M3. Wanted $10,000 for it. This was like not 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And my dad was just like, no, we don't.
Damn.
We're not gonna make any money off that.
What could have
Now
been?
they're worth like 80, 90 grand.
What color
I'm
was it?
like-
Do you remember what color it was?
Oh, it was black.
Ah, yeah, that's the best color to me. I really like the black ones.
It was black. It needed a paint job because it had sat in his garage. Or when I say his garage, it's more like a garage that's next to a like chicken coop.
Yeah.
So like it was just
I mean, what, 10 years ago is 30 or almost 30 years old, so sounds about right.
yeah, it was an 89 M3.
Oh, so what? Yeah, 25
Had
years.
like I don't remember how many kilometers it had, but it wasn't crazy.
Mhm.
But it was a nice car. I mean, it needed some work. It hadn't ran in a while, so it needed some work.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, oh my God, it's an E30 M3 for 10 grand.
Yeah, good luck getting that nowadays.
Never. What's your next one?
All right, my next one's going to be, I really love this car. This is one of my favorites. One of my friend's favorite cars from this time, too, is the Buick Grand National, the GNX. That thing was, it was just a cool car for that. And that thing had a lot of horsepower for the 80s. It had 300 horsepower, coming from a V6, too. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a good-looking car. I mean, it didn't, to me, it didn't stand out.
But you know what I gotta say about the Grand National is, I love that car. It looks 80s. Like it's got the body, right? It's like a Cutlass, old, like it's got that Monte Carlo Grand National look, right? The typical 80s look, T-tops, everything. But the craziest part is, it's got in turbo V6, and it was faster than the Camaro, than the Mustang, than all of its counterparts, and it ran with some Ferraris. That's crazy. From a turbo V6 G-body,
Yeah.
like GM product.
Well, before I keep going, I think
You think it's candy time?
we got to keep going.
Obviously, I'm not prepared like you. I gotta reach over the table.
Yeah, I
So,
came prepared.
What should I grab? You give me a recommendation.
I don't know. I think you got to try the Mary Jane. I want to know your personal opinion on that.
What's that?
It's this.
That?
It's these ones right. You know what? I'll do it with you. I'll do it with you. You know what?
All right. Why are
I'll
you
say the
having me
smartest.
try this? Is this bad?
I'm gonna let you decide for yourself. You know, while we're doing this one, let's talk about one. What do you think is the worst car from the 80s?
The Yugo?
Why?
Oh my god. Well, I like the taste. It just felt hard.
You like the
Oh.
taste? Oh,
Actually, I really like the taste. Yeah.
it's that
So-
good old peanut butter and molasses.
I actually like the taste. I might take all those later. So, worst car, it's got to be the Yugo. I mean, that thing was horrible. Like, you want to talk about horrible cars? The Yugo is like up there.
Mhm.
What do you think?
Dude, I know there's a lot of bad cars from that. I mean,
Your Chevy Monza.
dude, I don't even know. I gotta narrow it down. I'm trying to think of something. I know the Pinto was more like a 70s, probably, right?
You can't talk about the Pinto. That was 70s.
Yeah.
Even though that's horrible.
But I don't know. Trying to think of something off the top of my head. I didn't come prepared for that part.
Maybe.
You know what? This one's an honorable mention on our list that is cool, but shitty. The DeLorean.
I knew it. As soon as you said cool but shitty, I'm like, it's got to be the DeLorean.
It's a cool car for how iconic it is. And I guess you could say the same with a bunch of these candies. They're iconic. But that car was garbage. I think was slow and it was heavy.
Well, you know what kind of engine he used, right? It was like a 2.8 liter V6 that was co-designed with Peugeot and Renault.
It was slow.
Dude, it had like 170 horsepower, if that. Like, it was dirt. It had a 3-speed automatic.
And it was super expensive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it looked cool.
Mhm.
That, like, stainless steel body. Talk about hard to maintain, though. I've heard those things nowadays, if you get one that has dents in it, it's going to cost you a lot of money to fix.
It's not like getting dents out of a regular car. So,
And you know what's crazy? One more, like, cool, I guess, quirk about the car. To clean it properly, you got to use gasoline on the body because it's stainless steel.
yeah, it would rust if you use the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a sick car. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Super cool car. It definitely a product of its time because of Back to the Future, which I've never seen the movies. Don't hate me. I've never seen them, but Back to the Future, you know, the car's got to go 88 miles an hour because that's what the car maximum could do is 88 miles an
I
hour.
need a long stretch of road for that.
And it's just, It's such a cool car.
Mm-hmm.
It is the gull-wing doors and everything. It's so cool, but it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well get one and LS swap it.
You'd have more fun with it.
Oh, for sure.
You'd have a lot more fun. You get way more power.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, DeLorean's making the comeback, so good for them.
Yeah. All right. What's your last car?
Dude, we gotta
Need more
knock
candy.
out-
I'm not even done with this one.
Better hurry up then. All right, before we'll jump in. Well, no, wait. It's your turn.
Oh, it is my turn. Okay. Let me finish the candy and then my next official car, last car on the list, I guess you could say, is the Audi Quattro. I told you I was sticking European. So, what is that? What are you giving me? What is this?
This will be our next one. Chico sticks.
Oh God. Okay. So Audi Quattro, of course, developed for Group B rallying.
Yeah.
And I mean, I gotta be honest with you, when Audi came out with the Quattro system, nobody could beat them on rally.
Dude,
like
they were
clocked
dominating.
everybody. Lancia, Ford, like nobody could touch them
Dude, they were dominating.
because the all-wheel drive system in that car was crazy. Everybody else had rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. They just couldn't compete. But I mean,
they were way ahead of the time.
I'd love an Audi Quattro, but they're also
Most of the cars from this list are up there in price.
actually, I think the most expensive one. Well, we could probably do it at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it at the end. But I think I have a feeling I know which one's the most expensive one. But the Quattro, I've always loved the way it looks, and it doesn't look as crazy as its rally counterpart, right? As like the actual rally car.
And they never do, but they still look good.
But it's a really cool looking car. It almost looks like a Volkswagen Scirocco from the 80s, which probably Volkswagen Audi, but sick car. Inline 5 turbo, sounds great, looks great. You ever been in one or?
Yep. I've seen a couple, but
All right, I'm gonna try it. So what is this?
so I don't know. I heard it's peanut butter. I know growing up my dad loved this thing. It's crunchy peanut butter rolled in toasted coconut.
See, I'm not a fan of this. If it was just peanut butter, I'd be cool with it, but the coconut part, I don't like.
I like coconut, but peanut butter and coconut feels like a weird combo.
Weird combo.
Yeah. Not something I would have normally thought would go.
So your last car. I think
My
it's pretty
last
iconic, right?
I'm a little nostalgic towards this one.
Oh,
Um,
don't let it be
definitely
another
not. What?
GM. Don't let it be another GM, please. No, I know what it is. I
Alright.
know what it is.
So this one definitely not. It's not. I'd say the coolest car. Definitely not one of the best looking ones of this car. But the Chevy Camaro IROC Z. To me, I grew up. My dad had a Camaro IROC,
Okay.
and it was just a fun car to be in. It had the T-tops on the top and vented hood. Everything just looked great in that car. And I just remember going for rides in. So I had to pick that one. It was just nostalgic, but it was a fun car to look at, and I still love seeing those cars on the road today. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, I've had a lot of time spent around a third gen Camaro. A buddy of mine has one. He fully restored it. When he first got it in high school, it was crazy. The car didn't have AC, so we'd drive from like high school back to the house and like with the T-tops down and everything. It was just like, it was an experience.
And one thing I really like is, I don't know if you know why it's called the IROC Z. Do you know?
Because of it competed in like a certain race.
So they have like a spec series where they bring drivers from different series, from F1, NASCAR, IndyCar, endurance racing. They bring them all together and they would race against each other in these cars, specifically Camaros. And it was just a cool thing to see. You kind of see it now. They do, I think it's called Race of Champions. It's different. They'll use different types of cars, but this is kind of, I feel like, what started it. You got to see all these top of the world drivers compete against each other when they normally wouldn't. And it was basically just a test to see who was the best. So it was just a cool thing that I think Chevy did. So that's what makes it iconic to me, is if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have seen stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, that car is also another product of the 80s. It looks typical 80s, boxy. It's a hatchback. It is. What's next? What is this?
Lemonheads. Do you have these?
I think so.
I remember having these when I was younger. They're just, whatever.
But sweet. And then of course we got some
honorable mentions for sure.
Well, one that we definitely need to talk about. That's like for both of us.
Yeah, honestly, forgot about putting this in our top 5. I feel like.
Oh man,
A little sour,
a little soury.
not too bad, but
Not too bad. No, it's pretty nice. So everyone's probably screaming, why haven't you talked about it? Why haven't you brought it up? Testarossa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Another
Miami
brand-looking
Vice
car. Iconic for being white
yeah, yeah,
with more white substance on it.
yes, yes. That is very true. Very Miami vibes,
Mm-hmm.
as these colors here show. Legendary car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, crazy car from the 80s, right? That's just, you think about 80s, you think about crazy culture, you think about Testarossa. What more could we say about it? I mean, there really isn't. It's pretty typical. Like, people know this car.
It was another iconic one with the Countach.
Yeah.
Where
It was really the Countach and the Testarossa.
it was a big competition between.
Yeah.
Those brands have had a long-lasting competition since.
I mean, I'm taking the
tractor days.
Countach over the Testarossa any day. That's like my 80s poster car. But,
You know what? If you take that one, I'll take the Testarossa.
okay. Then we're both.
I may not agree with Ferrari on a lot of their things, but it is an iconic car, and I would love to have a car like that.
Oh, me too. I'm saying if you put them in front of me and you ask me to take one, I'm taking the Countach.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, I think out of all those, the most expensive one, in fact, no, I don't think I know, it's got to be the F40. That's like a $2 million, $2.5 million car now.
Yeah,
It's for sure not the IROC Z. It's probably
no.
the cheapest one up there.
probably. But that and the Volkswagen Mustang, those are
yeah.
the cheapest.
Yeah, the F40 and probably the 959. Because the Countach, they sit around 700, 650, 700. The Hammer, I mean, 750, 800, depending on what you have.
The 959 depends on what options are available on it.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen one. There's some for over $1 million. So
Okay.
they just told around to bring a trailer. I'm pretty sure pretty recently.
Really?
Mhm.
For how much?
A lot,
More than we can afford?
way more than we can afford.
Man, I'd love to drive any of those cars on the list, though. I mean, I've had experience with a Fox Body and with an IROC, and with an Audi Quattro. But aside from that, none of the other ones.
Out of all those cars, the ones I've ever actually got to sit in and move or drive, I've driven a Countach, the Fox Body. I sat in the Camaro, never drove it because I wasn't old enough. And honestly, that's it.
You never drove a 959?
I've seen one in person, but I sat in it. I didn't get to drive it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, legendary cars. You guys let us know.
But you got, before we finish, you got any more honorable
Cars?
mentions?
What am I thinking? Well, the Mark II Golf GTI.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Mark I really started the whole hot hatch thing. Mark II really, I think, in my opinion, perfected. That's my favorite generation of the Golf is the Mark II. I think it looks more very aggressive. It's really cool. And where I'm from in Bulgaria, it's just an iconic looking car. I mean, a lot of people had them back in, not the GTIs, but just those in general. So my uncle's got 2 of them right now, back home in Europe. So
All right, my honorable mention. I'm just doing this one for the fun of it.
don't say you go, please don't. Say
The Dodge Omni
oh no.
Shelby. It's just a funny car. It's a
It's
I
a
feel like-
4-cylinder Dodge.
I just feel like a lot of people don't know that Shelby did stuff with other brands.
Yeah. They did stuff with Dodge, which they built a Shelby pickup truck, which there wasn't really any engine modifications. I think it was just graphics.
Yeah, it said Shelby. That was cool. But
Yeah.
before we finish this out, we got to do one more candy.
I
better hurry it up. Hurry it up, man.
Oh my god. Oh.
But here's another. Oh, okay, so since you're finishing, we gotta keep going with more honorable mentions.
You guys tell us what your favorite candies are from the 80s.
For sure. Tell us what your least favorite candies are. But I need this man to finish.
What's the next one?
This one I hate, and I have a feeling you might too.
What is it?
This would be the Atomic Fireball.
I'm not doing this.
No, we're gonna do it.
I'm not doing this.
Do it.
No, I've tried these. I'm not.
I don't
doing
care.
this. I'm not doing this.
No, we have to.
No.
Don't be like that.
No.
Come on, we gotta finish out. This is the only way we can do it. We gotta finish it. You better not spit it out after the cameras turn off either.
I'm gonna spit it out.
But
Oh
as
no.
you smell this, just let us know what your guys' favorite cars are from the 80s. What's your guys' number one? What's your guys' least favorite cars? And as well as that, let us know what your favorite candy is and your least favorite candy from the 80s.
Why? Do I have to?
Yeah. All right, ready?
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Oh,
That's disgusting. Why do people like this?
can you guys turn them off, please?